Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has returned to the Senate following the unsealing of her office at the National Assembly complex. Following her resumption at the office, she vowed not to apologize to the Senate President Godswill Akpabio. Is this new chapter the beginning of another test for Nigeria's upper legislative house? This is the Eastern Eye. I'm Alex Obodo. Eastern Eye, a program that X-rays the political, social, and economic developments around us. Joining me tonight is Honorable Nwabueze Ugwu, a constitutional lawyer and former member, Enugu State House of Assembly. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on the Eastern Eye.
Thank you, Mr. Alex. Thank you, our viewers.
I'm sure you've been following what's been transpired. Of course, she just returned. The suspension has elapsed, and the one or two court cases here hanging. But as someone who's been in the legislature before, you also have had some bit of adversity yourself in a legislative house. Is it because a lot of people are wading into this matter, maybe without understanding how legislative houses operate? Are the rules very sacrosanct that issues of reason and personal respect and decorum will be thrown to the dust?
There's certainly, the rules, I wouldn't want to use the word sacrosanct, but the rules of the National Assembly and that of the Senate were made to be obeyed. These rules were made pursuant to Section 60 of the 1999 Constitution, which gives the National Assembly, the House of Reps, as well as the Senate, the legal power to make their own rules. When they are given the power to make their rules, whatever rules they make are to be obeyed by them. If you want to belong to any of those legislative houses, you have to be prepared to obey the rules that govern that legislative house. Now, the truth of the matter is that we are in an era where judgments are done on the social media. Nobody, in fact, these days, decency is always thrown to the winds, decorum is thrown to the dogs, and anything goes. That's the era in which we are. Otherwise, I think it's important for us to know that when rules are made, these rules are not made for fun. They are not made to decorate the whatever book they were written in. They were made so that everybody who it concerns will have to obey such rules. You see, when I was in the House of Assembly, like you rightly remarked, I also faced suspension in the House of Assembly. My own suspension was different because it involved life. While I was there, we got information that assassins were going to be sent to eliminate me. And I did inform the House of Assembly during plenary. It was announced, the news carried it, television, radio stations, newspapers. And we also appealed. The speaker has made it clear there that whoever was hatching such plan should shelve it. At the end of the day, the news continued to come. I wrote letters to the president. I knew the person who, it was very clear who was going to do it. And I wrote letters to the Inspector General of Police, the Commissioner of Police, the President. Even I think I also wrote to the President of the Senate, as well as the Speaker of the House of Reps. But what is remarkable is that at the end of the day, this was carried to fruition. These assassins came, and because I was living with a look-alike brother, they snuffed the life out of him, they killed him, thinking they were killing me. So that's why I said mine is different. In any event, even with this killing of my elder brother, the House went ahead and suspended me because I said that look at the person that killed my brother. The House suspended me. In any event, a lot happened, and all that is now history.
We're getting to the rule part. So what was the basis for your suspension? Was it that you broke the rule of the House and the way you said it, or about what you said?
It was what I said. Who are you? Who am I to say that the governor wanted to kill me? Who am I to say that the governor killed my brother? So that was the issue then. Not about who said. That is not about how I said it, but what gave you the effrontery to say so. In any event, all that is now history because I've kept everything behind me. I even said on a lot of places that I've forgiven everybody that was involved. So now, but what is important is that I still, even with all that adversity, I didn't take it to heart that members of the House suspended me. No. I also didn't quarrel with anybody that I was suspended. I didn't do so. I rather allowed the suspension to run its course, and I returned back to the legislature. Now, but the point is that when rules are made, in fact, at a point, I became the chairman of the Public Petitions, Ethics, Privileges, and Discipline of that House. The Nigerian Supreme Court has said in a number of authorities, judicial authorities, that every rule made by any organization, be it the judiciary or the legislature, by powers granted to that organization by the Constitution, then that rule is a product of the Constitution and has the nature of the Constitution. That rule is made to be obeyed. It's not made for you to be looking at it, for you to use it to decorate anywhere, for it to sound good in the ears. And so I think that for all intents and purposes, I'm not sure that Natasha, that everything she did was right. It's important because, let me tell you now, if you say that everything she did was correct, the implication is that you are saying that there shouldn't be order in the legislature.
Yes, I'm coming to that. So at the end of the day, there's always, if you want, two sides to a story, or even more.
Yes.
So what started like a small misunderstanding quickly escalated. So it was about the seating position because some senators had defected, and the seating arrangements, according to what they said were the rules, had to be rearranged because the PDP senators would sit different and the APC senators would sit different. So the defected senators had to move to the other aisle where the APC senators are sitting. So for those remaining on the opposite side, they will have to adjust.
That's correct.
Well, that's the explanation they were given. But she would take none of that. So she believed she was being victimized and couldn't hold back. And from everything said, that she was not supposed to speak when she spoke, because normally, as the rule says, you have to be called by the presiding officer. Sometimes it might not be the Senate President, it might be Deputy Senate President. That she wasn't called, but she put herself on and was talking. And well, we all know what had happened. It's now history. She was suspended and she made accusations that this and that. So with all what has happened, with everything that she said and accused the Senate President of, and the cases in court and the afters with the Senate President's wife and everything, do you think it will be the same again? If she comes back to that house, how would you like her, as someone who's been in the legislature, with all the lessons you've learned, do you think that her activist mode should continue? Or should she put the people of Kogi Central first this time and play down a bit of her personal activism?
Yes, I try to say, it is very important that in every field of endeavor, there needs to be decency, there needs to be decorum, there needs to be order. Assuming 4 or 5 persons in that 105 legislature, or is it 106? Assuming 5 persons there were to toe her line, then that Senate will become a marketplace. It will be, in fact, it will even escalate to a point where there will be free for all. And of course, even her, Natasha, will not like it. So it's always important. If you enter the court, there are rules. You must obey the rules if you're a lawyer. You can't just get up to talk when it is not your turn to speak, or when the court, the presiding officer has not permitted you to speak. It is the same thing in the legislature. Somebody must be in charge. That's why all the senators elected somebody to be the president of the Senate, elected somebody else to deputize him. If there was no need for somebody to be in charge, then there wouldn't be any need to elect anybody. If there was no need for rules to guide the procedure of the Senate, this Constitution wouldn't have given the authority to make rules for themselves. And remember, these were the rules they made for themselves. It behooves on all of them to obey it. If they do not obey the rules, and the place is a marketplace, then their entire job will be in great jeopardy. They won't succeed in legislating. The Senate will become a worthless organization, an organization that does not carry out its functions and duties, an organization that is useless. And what will happen? Of course, all the senators will have to go home. They are there because there is decency, there is decorum, there is order. That's why the senators are still there. That's why members of the House of Reps are there. That's why members of the House of Assembly still go to the House to legislate. The moment you throw this order to the winds, then everybody will go home. So it's very important that Natasha, as well as every other member of every legislative house in Nigeria, should play by the rules. The rules must be obeyed. Anyone that's not prepared to obey the rules simply has to go home. Because if you are not prepared to obey the rules, you are telling the rest of the legislature to go home. Because they cannot perform their duty in a rancorous situation, in a marketplace, a place where anybody can freely get up and talk, and get up and shout, and get up and do anything, not considering what the presiding officer says. So it's very important that now that Natasha has been given a second opportunity to perform her duty as a legislator, that she should come down and obey, sit at the Senate and represent the Kogi Central constituents that brought her there. Because if she does this a second time, they will certainly suspend her again. And the suspension, and you see, look, it's not a place that one person is staying. It's a place where because Kogi Central constituency is not, yes, I heard that Natasha, I read in the social media, she said that Akpabio is not more senator than herself. Yes. And that the place where Akpabio represents is not better or bigger than Kogi Central. Likewise, Senator Natasha is not a bigger senator than the rest of the senators. And the Kogi Central, where she represents, is also not bigger than the rest of the senatorial seats, the rest of the senatorial constituencies. She has to bear this in mind and understand that nobody is bigger than the other. Now, when there are presiding officers, these presiding officers are primus inter pares. They are first among equal. We agree that all of them are equal, but there must be somebody that is in charge. There must be people that are in charge. Everybody can never be in charge. There must be a leader and there must be a led. If everybody becomes leader and there is no led, then nobody is a leader. So nature even insists that there has to be a leader, even if the Constitution has not provided for that. And the Constitution, in the wisdom of the drafters of that document, still felt able to say that there's the need for somebody to preside over the affairs of the Senate and for somebody else to deputize him. In the absence of the presiding officer, the deputy presiding officer takes over. So I advised Natasha to play by the rules. Come down from your Olympian height. You must be humble. In every legislative house, if you are not humble, you cannot do anything. Because when you want anything done, you have to lobby others. How can you lobby when you are not humble? Lobby is impossible without humility. The person lobbying, if that person is not humble, then that person's lobby will not be heard by anybody. In fact, it will be tingling on anybody's ear. Nobody wants to hear anything from anybody that is not humble. If you are humble, you get what you want. Even some persons may even go out of their way to give you what you want, not considering the fact that you are not supposed to get it. They just give it to you out of humility, out of your humility, and out of their appreciation of the fact that you are somebody who should be given some degree of things that the person does not deserve. So I advise Natasha that she should just come down and do the job the proper way, not to continue to arrogate, to think that every attention should be turned to her. Nobody should do anything. Anytime she raises her hand, everybody else should be jettisoned, and she will be left to talk anytime she wants to talk. It cannot happen anywhere, and will never happen.
All right, so another leg to this, because the Senate will resume, I think, on the 7th of October, and some people are already thinking that what would it be like? One thing is to allow her to have access to her office. Another thing is for her to be part of plenary. So if indeed she becomes part of plenary on the 7th of October, what do you envisage? Do you think you expect to see a changed Natasha Akpoti? Well, it looks like we have seen a foretaste that she's not apologizing to anybody, and the Senate President is a dictator. So is this an indication that we're going to still see some fireworks and exchanges between Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio?
You see, there is a lesson I learned from one Igbo adage that says that tortoise boasted that he will use that when the market is in turmoil, it will use its feet to trample somebody to death. Now, somehow, the market went into turmoil. Tortoise was not even there. But a woman fell and died. A woman was trampled. They held Tortoise. That Tortoise had boasted it was going to do so. At the end of the day, they took Tortoise and tethered Tortoise to a tree where serious sun was beating. When people were crossing to the market, they said, yes, Tortoise deserves it. After all, he had boasted that he was going to trample somebody when the market erupts. Now that the market erupted, somebody has been trampled to death, so it must be Tortoise. So he deserves it. When these people were coming back from the market, they still saw Tortoise there. They said, no. These people are wicked. Whoever tethered, how can Tortoise be there from morning till now? Oh, no, this is too much. So I see that playing out in Natasha's case. You see, the way I see, because with the air of pride and the superiority that she has exhibited, I think that most likely, because she has said she will not apologize to anybody. She has also asserted that Akpabio is not more senator than herself. Of course, I agree that that is true. Nobody, no senator is more senator than the other. But then, you are not apologizing to the Senate President, you are apologizing to the Senate, whose values you desecrated. And so, it's important that she has to apologize. Because apology means, I have realized my mistake. I won't do it again. That's what apology means. If you say you will not apologize, it means you are sticking to your gun. You are saying you never made any mistake. That what you have done, you will repeat. It will be a very, very ugly situation. You see, now people are on her side. The entire social media fight for her. But that's always the case. When two persons are fighting, one is higher in rank or probably richer than the other, it will always be assumed that the man who is richer or higher in rank is oppressing the other person because he is richer, because he is superior. So that's why he's oppressing the man that is not as rich as he is, or the man who did not measure up to his standard in the society. That's exactly what has happened already between Natasha and Akpabio. But I can assure you that if Natasha continues in this trend, the tide may turn. That sympathy that she has in great abundance may begin to elude her. People may now begin to say, no, Natasha, you can't do this now. Why? Don't you want the Senate to exist? You must obey the rules now. You must play by the game. If you continue like this, how will the Senate sit? That means we are paying the senators for nothing. We are throwing our money into the garbage heap. You see, the tide will begin to change. That sympathy that she has, which she has won, may now begin to go against her. So if it was possible for her to listen to me, and probably even to many other persons I'm certain are talking to her, she should just apologize, calm down, perform her duties, and win more things for the people she's representing. So that by the next time, they will still vote for her to go back, because they'll be seeing what she has done. But if she continues in this trajectory and does not get anything for the people of Kogi Central, they may have to think twice about sending her back to the Senate.
Thank you so much. We will take a break here on the Eastern Eye. When we return, we'll find out whether not having enough women in the Senate was also part of the issue Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is having. Stay with us. You're welcome back to the Eastern Eye here on Afia TV, a program that x-rays the political, social, and economic developments around us. My name is Alex Obodo. So let's talk about the ratio of female representation, not just at the Senate, even in the House of Reps. The numbers are abysmally low. Do you think that if we had maybe an even number of male and female legislators in that Senate plenary that day, that Natasha could have been suspended? Do you think that this would have even snowballed to this?
Yes, I think so, because there are, for now, 4 female senators in the Senate, and after this event took place, even while they were in the Senate, some of the women went to her and appealed to her to play by the rules, to sheath her sword, and she refused. And also saw what happened thereafter at the social media. Some of them were vocal, some refused to speak. I take it that the reason why they refused to speak was because they couldn't get themselves to come to the public to say that they were supporting a man instead of a woman. But then they couldn't come out to support the woman openly in the public because they saw that what the woman did was wrong. That's my judgment of those female senators who kept mum. Then, but of course, you remember that somebody like a Senator, is it Ikimi?
Ireti Kingibe.
Yes, Kingibe, sorry. Ireti Kingibe. She came out openly and said that what Natasha did was wrong. So if you look at this now, you will see that even if half of the members of the Senate were women, they still would not have supported, they still wouldn't have given Natasha the kind of support she probably would be expecting that they give her, judging from the one we have seen. But what is important is that it's not about whether Akpabio is the biggest criminal in Nigeria or in the world, or whether anything happened. What is important is that the rule of the Senate is the document that governs everything that happens in that Senate. The moment you people enter and drop the mace, the moment that mace is there for plenary, all the rules must be kept until the Senate rises and the mace is removed. That mace is the symbol of Senate, the authority of the Senate. So the moment that is going on, you must play by the rules, whether you are the most superior person in Nigeria or the most inferior person. So I can't see that the result would have been different if there were more women in the Senate. The same thing would have happened in the House of Representatives. Assuming a woman gets up in the House of Reps to do what Senator Natasha did, I envisage that the same fate that befell Natasha would have befallen that woman who tries that in the House of Reps, even in any House of Assembly, in any legislature in Nigeria, or in the world, not just the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Because, in fact, if it's in America or any of the big democracies, in fact, they'll be very, very angry. They will be, even if Natasha's husband were to be in the Senate, as a member of the Senate, and Natasha does this in America, that her husband will get up and lambast her, that her husband will support whatever the Senate President does, and some of them even take it a step further by even divorcing the spouse. That the spouse did what was not right, that the spouse did what the rule says you should not do, that the spouse did a thing the person considers to be incomprehensible and incongruous. So, for the sake of decency and the reason, I think that Natasha needs to sit down and do some delicate introspection.
So let's talk about what the lessons are now. With all the things that has happened, with all the very awkward image it has given to the Senate and the National Assembly generally, do you think lessons have been learned from this Akpabio-Natasha saga?
Yes. I think that lessons has been learned by some persons. It's also possible that some persons who ought to have learned some lessons have not learned some lessons. So I've said some persons have learned lessons as a result of it, and some others have not learned anything as a result of what happened. At least I have said here that Natasha has said that she will not apologize, meaning that she stands by everything she did. Her entire character, her entire conduct. On that day, she still stands by it and will still repeat it if such occasion comes up again. The implication is that she has learned nothing from it. You see, you may not blame her because a lot of persons misread the judgment of the masses. There's a way you look at the judgment of the masses. There are things you do and the masses will be nudging you on. But if you are sharp and probably brilliant, you will have to ask yourself, am I really on the right path? It's important for Natasha to ask herself this question. Am I really on the right path? Is it right for me to disobey the rules of the Senate and still insist on remaining on my seat in the Senate? Still insist to remain a senator? And assuming other persons were to do the same thing that I did, how will the Senate look like? Will it still be possible for the Senate to perform its duties? If the Senate continues to be as rancorous as I converted it on that day, will the people of this country still want to retain us as senators? Will they still want to pay us as senators? Will they still refer to us as senators? Or will they now say, all of you go and rest, let us elect a new crop of senators? Or alternatively, please, we are no longer interested in the Senate. House of Reps, go on and perform our legislative duties. No Senate again in this country. And so you need to, common sense should let the voice of reason take over. The voice of reason is that Natasha should look at it again, apologize. Because when you apologize, you are saying, I regret what I have done, I will not do it again. These two sentences are the primary meaning of apology. I regret what I have done, I will not repeat it.
So if she doesn't apologize, what happens?
She is saying, I stand 100% by what I did, and I will repeat it if this situation comes back. I will repeat exactly the same thing that I did. And because of the thumbs up she got at the social media, she may now even decide to do worse than she did. And
so do you think that Natasha will go to the newly assigned seat? The assignment of seat that caused the whole imbroglio in the first place?
She has no alternative to do. She has no alternative than doing that, because she can't assign a seat to herself. If she refuses to sit on the seat assigned to her by the leadership of the Senate, what it will mean is that she's assigning a seat to herself. The rules of the Senate, of any legislative house in the world, does not allow that. The Nigerian Constitution, 1999, does not allow that. There is no law in this country that allows it. So she has no alternative than to go to the seat which was assigned to her by the leadership of the Senate. Anything short of that, she will immediately be suspended again.
But let's take a look at how the Senate leadership has handled this issue. Do you think they left a little or even so much to be desired in their handling of this? Because this spoke directly to the character and integrity of the Senate President because of the accusations that were brought forward. Do you think that this whole saga with Natasha has bruised not just the reputation of the Senate, it looks like it has also, put them in some public, put them in the public in a way. I don't know, there are words coming into my head. I don't want to say it.
Yes, you know that before even that event took place, a lot of persons in this country had already put the Senate President on the spotlight. A lot of persons were already insinuating that the president was corrupt, the president of the Senate. A lot of persons were already insinuating that the senators were skimming a lot of money out of the purse of Nigerians, out of the public till. And a lot of persons were not happy at all with the Senate even the House of Representatives. So when this one now happened, and you see, a lot of persons in Nigeria also believed that the senators had overbearing attitude over the rest of Nigerians. So when this one now happened, considering again that she's a woman, women are generally believed to be of the weaker sex. Women are also generally believed to, it's also believed by most persons, whether right or wrong, that the moment a male is at the helm of affairs in any place, and a female is of the same organization, that the male will always want to have some romantic relationship with the female. It's an assumption that a lot of persons have. So that was also what played out in this situation. Before that, people were not happy with the Senate. People were not happy with Akpabio. And remember that the accusation of sexual harassment leveled against the Senate President by Natasha, there had been such an accusation against the person of the Senate President when he was a minister of the Federal Republic, just before he became a senator. That same accusation had been levied against him by the former managing director of, I think, is it?
NDDC.
NDDC, yes. So that toga was already there. So when this one happened, that was one of the things that won Natasha sympathy, public sympathy. But remember again, that when this imbroglio began, Natasha was not laying any claim to any form of sexual abuse. It was as things were unfolding, some persons had begun to insinuate that it was possible that the Senate President was doing this to Natasha because he may have approached Natasha for sexual gratification, and Natasha may have said no. It was after this insinuation had commenced that Natasha now began to lay claim to sexual harassment. So it could be said to be an afterthought. So, but what is very important is that when a man and a woman are fighting anywhere, especially in the third world like this country, it will be assumed that it must have been because somebody wanted romantic relationship and the other person refused. So that is it. But then I agree that to some extent, the handling of this issue by the Senate wasn't very good. That was one of the things that fueled that assumption of a lot of persons that the members of the Senate were just trying to lord it over Natasha because she's of the weaker sex and because she was just one person facing the entire leadership of the Senate and facing probably the entire senators. So, but if you look at again, that accusation of sexual harassment, it is not a thing that has any relationship with the Senate as an institution. It was not envisaged by the rules of the Senate. I am not certain that it is one that the Committee on Public Petitions, Ethics, Discipline of the Senate could handle, because it does not come within the purview of their duties and responsibilities. It doesn't have anything to do with legislative duty. It's just that this accusation was made in the Senate. Okay, assuming this accusation had been made outside the Senate, would it have been different? It still would have been linked to the same Senate. Oh, because he is Senate President, and this person is a senator, and he now applied for romantic relationship and the female refused, he may have now come outside to now take his pound of flesh on the female because the female refused to give accede to his request for that relationship, even when such thing happened outside the four walls of the Senate, even outside the four walls of the National Assembly. But you see, like I did say, that it is just the fact that the public always assumes that when two persons are fighting, the person that is trying to lord it over the other is the person that is more powerful. He's trying to lord it over than over the person that is less powerful. But it's not always the case. In this situation, I see a different scenario.
So you think that it's going to be all hugs and more hugs on the 7th of October?
Yes,
resumes. And everyone will be circumspect now.
I envisage that unless Natasha decides to listen to appeals by well-meaning Nigerians and decides to sheath her sword and come to her senses and do the plan, they play by the rules, I see a stormy session when the Senate resumes. And I am not sure that it will be good for the image of the Senate. Now, Natasha has her head high, but that head may no longer be high if the same event were to repeat itself. So, the proper thing would have been to have a rethink. Apologize to the Senate. So that because a lot of persons hate arrogance, if you refuse to apologize, you are displaying arrogance. And such thing makes a lot of people angry. And when you now return, even some persons whose sympathy you were enjoying, even in that Senate, will no longer be sympathetic to your cause. They will now become very angry with you.
So you think that that's going to happen for Natasha when she returns?
Yes, because those senators will now think that you are assuming a larger-than-life posture, that you are thinking that you are even superior to themselves. So if you are superior to these people, why would they want to cooperate with you? Was this man from Borno State not suspended? Senator, there's a senator from Borno State who is very outspoken. He was suspended from the Senate. He served his suspension, and he returned to the Senate without problem, without even going to court. Because that is what the rules say. The law said you should make rules for yourself. The rule said somebody can be suspended if he does this or does that. You were suspended because you did what the rule said you should not do. And the punishment which the rule prescribed is what was meted out to you. So I don't see, honestly, what, yes, you see, if you go to court, the High Court will give a decision. You go to Court of Appeal will give a decision, then it's the Supreme Court that has the final say. And I think that the Nigerian Supreme Court would not have given thumbs up for disorder. They wouldn't have supported rancorous Senate. They wouldn't have supported anybody who is not playing by the rules. Because if the Supreme Court supports anybody who refuses to play by the rules in the legislature, then it follows ex hypothesis that they're also supporting a lawyer who will come to court and take the laws into his hands and refuse to play by the rules of the court. The Supreme Court has said that the rules of every court, of every institution, was made to be obeyed and made by the instrumentality of the Constitution and has the character of the Constitution and must be enforced the same way as the Constitution is enforced. So it's up to Natasha. The ball is in her court. Whatever she decides to do is what she will do. But if she does what she wants to do, she should also be ready to accept whatever comes to her in return. Because both are given uno flato. None can be dissociated from the other.
Absolutely. And on that Latin note, we have to thank you for coming on the program tonight. Honorable Nwabueze Ugwu is a constitutional lawyer and former member Enugu State House of Assembly. Thank you for your presence tonight on the Eastern Eye.
Thank you.
That's the Eastern Eye for tonight. We'll be here tomorrow same time for another episode of the program. My name is Alex Obodo. Good night.